show you how I practically work with my patients when they bring me a specific problem and we have to explore all the interconnections. So let's say there is a situation that is isolation. And my patient focuses his attention on I'm bored, and my solution is to eat too much. This could be a problem itself, but I like to see a big picture and trying to explain him that maybe this is a correct sequence, but we can also think about the role of uncertainty, of motivation, of physical inactivity. And there are more, but just start with this. Let's add irritation. Okay, what's the link between all these factors? Let's see some links. When someone is stuck at home, it's really difficult that is going to eat something healthy. When we are stuck at home with treats, sweeties, and so what are we doing? We are increasing our systemic inflammation, and we are eating processed food rich in glutamate. Inflammation, it's all about inflammation in our body is the activation of the immune system. The interesting point for us is that inflammation in the gut is the same. In fact, there is the gut-brain axis. Inflammation in the gut is exactly inflammation in the nervous system, in the brain. So we are putting fuel on fire about irritation, and then we will look at that. Glutamate is one of the most powerful neurotransmitter for neural excitation. So if in this irritation we have rumination, bad thoughts, bad prevision about the future, we are putting again fuel on fire for this kind of process. But we can look at the big picture once again and see uncertainty. Uncertainty, to fully understand uncertainty, I want to put this useful scheme here. This is a readaptation of a scheme from Peters and McEwen. This is the uncertainty switch networks in our brain. Uncertainty, as we have said before, is the difficulty to predict how the world will go, but at the same time, the effectiveness of our plan, of our ability to adapt to the world. And how we do realize this process? How can we decide if it's right to have a stress response or a behavioral adaptation toward the outside, or to regulate our internal world? So we have three different states. This the top level of this scheme could be used also in coaching and counseling session, because it's clear that we can think about the current state, how we are, how do we feel, the ideal state, my goal, and the predicted state, that has to be the more realistic the prediction. So not ideal, not the starting point, but in the middle, what I really can do. The interesting point is that everything starts here, incoming data. All the perception is the base of every adaptation system, of every emotional response. If we are, going back to our big schema, if we are stuck at home and we don't move our body, we have a phenomenon called allostatic load, and we can add another scheme to help us. Allostatic load is another interesting concept from Bruce McEwan and many other researchers. Is the neurobiological perspective on adaptation. I can adapt to a situation. The first levels are good. Think about a kid going to school. If he learn not to go to the bathroom every 5 minutes, he can stay in the classroom and pay attention to the lesson. If we are doing something important, it's important to self-regulate. So a certain level of adaptation is good. But think about the extreme. In daily life, we know that the taxi drivers have a lot of problem related to hyper adaptation. They have back pain, they have bladder complications because they stay too long, too much in their cab. They don't feel the problem with allostatic load is that over a certain threshold, we don't recognize anymore we have a problem. We are used to this situation, but this is not good, and we start to pay a price. So, if we are stuck at home and we don't move our body and we are always in the same position, we reach an allostatic level. We don't recognize we just feel a little bit irritated maybe, and so this physical inactivity can go here and amplify this feeling, but can also go here and worsen our internal world perception. There is a word I love that is interoception. Interoception. At the beginning, I think by Schaeffer, and then well-developed concept by Bud Craig. And interoception is the sum of all our bodily sensation. And here there is something I found really, really useful. When we work on a physical sensation, we try to focus our attention on the body, but with a cognitive perspective. When we do a relaxation process, when we start a mindfulness or a meditation practice, the questions are always, how do you feel? Try to feel more relaxed. But relaxed is a higher structure, is a higher feeling. Working on interoception means trying to use the language of the body, and you can do this via two tricks, two tips. And the first one is to stay on physical definition. So not asking about emotion, feelings, but asking feeling perception. So okay, you feel your shoulder relaxed. But I don't want to know if it is relaxed. I want to know which is the real feeling here. It's stuck, it's free, it's hot, it's cold. And the second tip is about provoking this kind of sensation, because a lot of time you ask this kind of questions and your patient is not able to respond. So you have to create something, and you can do it by doing small micro movements. There are interesting research from Schleip and other researchers about the power of micro movement, because micro movements are more difficult to control and are able to make the same when you hit Control Alt Delete on your computer or your PC. So you can reset your perception in the insula and other brain circuits. So you are doing your relaxation, your meditation, and your request could be, okay, try to lift your left shoulder just a millimeter, 2 millimeter. Now, feel the differences. Feel the difference and try to describe. Make a confrontation with your previous state on the same shoulder, or with the other one that you are not lifting. Okay, you feel something more stuck. You feel something different now. Okay, try to use a lot of different words to describe it. Another way, one way is micro movement. Another way is to create, to provoke isometric contraction, because insula, again, is very sensitive to isometric contraction. You can create something like that, just holding something like a pen or something bigger, but it's enough a pen to contract it, and try to contract all your arm without changing. So this is an isotonic contraction, is not interesting for us. This is an isometric. I'm contracting, but the length is not changing. And after a few seconds, you can ask something interesting about, is it hot? It's pulsing? It's trembling? What are you feeling? You have a lot of feeling. And very interesting, when you release, don't go over 3 minutes with this kind of exercise. When you release, you have a phenomenon so-called post-isometric release. So after an isometric contraction for a few seconds to 3 minutes, when you release, there are some receptors that tend to release the previous contraction. And so there is this paradoxical feeling that you can feel more relaxed, these muscles, than before, and then the other not contracted. And so you can enhance a lot your ability to recognize your internal world sensation.